to LA, so I'll stay home and write these songs, pretend I'll make it someday. My friends are getting married, they're all settling down.
Morning everyone. So for those who may not have watched our channel before and may not understand exactly how I got to DC, so I'm currently here for 6 months and I wanted to get an apartment while I was here. You can basically book all of the tours and stuff online, which was super helpful, and so I was able to book pretty much everything before I got to DC. My friends were amazing, providing me a whole host of different neighborhoods, and the different neighborhoods that they suggested were Adams Morgan and like the Georgetown area, then also Navy Yard, the Wharf, Mount Vernon, U Street. But in December when I came, I booked a number of different apartment tours and realized that actually the places that I liked and where it is I wanted to focus was going to be somewhere in Navy Yard and the Wharf. And so I'll quickly run through all the different criteria that I had in terms of actually getting an apartment. So I've kind of spoken a little bit about location already, and then a little bit about myself. Obviously it's just me living here, and so I knew that I wanted a 1 bed, or a 1 bed and a den is what they call it here, which is basically like a 1 bed and then a smaller room without a window. Then my budget was $4,000, and so then it would be a bit less in pounds. Ultimately that was kind of where the top of my limit was. Anything below $4,000 was going to be fine, and that would include like my rent, my utilities, so that everything came together about $4,000 per month. And then some of my non-negotiables: number one, I wanted obviously to be in a safe area. I feel very safe in the space that I'm at. I wanted there to be a lot of building security safety in the apartments that I was looking at. I really wanted to make sure that there was like a 24-hour concierge or building man, that there was kind of key or fob access. I wanted it in an apartment complex, so there were a number of different people that were moving about. I wanted somewhere that had a lot of natural light. I wanted a in-unit laundry. I didn't realize that sometimes your apartments don't come with in-unit laundry, so I wanted to make sure there was a washer and dryer in my apartment. I also wanted like a bit of storage space, like somewhere where I could at least hang up all of my clothes, and then also have a bit of space to keep my suitcases because I travel quite a lot. I also wanted to be relatively central so that I could walk into work. I basically walk everywhere in London. I didn't want a situation where I'd have to take a car or I'd have to take public transport to be able to get into work. Then I also wanted to be near the waterfront. I wanted to like have some running trails. I run quite a bit, and so it's quite nice to be able to walk by the river. I think it's the River Potomac, which is quite nice. And then I also wanted it to be relatively high up so that I could firstly see the view of Capitol Building, also the Washington Monument. So I didn't want to be like on the 2nd or 3rd floor. And so those were all my like non-negotiables. These are things that I desperately needed. Everything else was like a nice to have. For anybody who is looking to move to DC or to be honest with you, any apartment in the States, I think it's just helpful to have a list of questions that you kind of care about. So the things that I personally asked a lot of my viewings was looking at like what the year-on-year rent increase was, then also what the terms of the lease were, in particular if I needed to break the lease throughout my stay here, and then also to talk a little bit about the application process. I then also wanted to understand what the demographic of people that live there. Like I didn't want to be in like a massive family-friendly place. I wanted there to be a number of different like young working professionals, and that's definitely what the case is here. I wanted to understand the occupancy rates just so that I understood exactly who was living there and how long they wanted to live there for. And then lastly, just working out what the reservation system was for any of the private spaces. I would love to be able to like host a dinner here, or host a birthday, or you know, rent out the movie room or rent out the rooftop bar or whatever, and just work out how much that cost, how easy it was to reserve, and all that kind of stuff. So those are some of the questions I asked, and what it is I was looking for, and how it is I settled on the location. So I've done all of that backstory. Let's get actually into the apartments that I viewed, and then you guys can guess which one I ended up going for. Alright guys, so the very first apartment that I went to go and see was in these 2 buildings. They were part of the same development, and so you could basically go and view both of those apartments. There was one apartment that was slightly older than the other one, so I only looked at the apartments that were in the second, newer, more modern building. They're around about the same level of square footage, so just over 1,000 square feet. They were on the market for $4,100. What I realized about this apartment is that it had floor-to-ceiling windows, very spacious. I looked at 1 bedroom and a den. There was also a great amount of closet space, which was great. And I was able to see where I would be able to put all of my clothes, and then also some of my suitcases and all of that type of stuff. This apartment also had 2 bathrooms. So one of the bathrooms had a full walk-in shower, which was great. And then the second bathroom had a bathtub. I really wanted an island. It wasn't a non-negotiable, but it was something that I really liked. And so I did really like the fact that it had an island in the apartment. One thing I didn't love was the fact that the view, at least for the apartment that I was looking at, was onto the courtyard, and so it didn't have as nice of a view as what I was looking for. So hopefully to see something of like the Washington Monument or the Capitol building. But one thing I will say about this apartment and about this building is that the amenities were honestly off the chain. So you had a jacuzzi, you had a rooftop pool, you had beautiful views of the monument and also of the Capitol building. The pool at the time that I went to view was covered, but just because it was early March, it wasn't warm enough for the pool to be open at that time. They had loads of different outdoor seating where you could go have a fire pit. There was also this kind of like communal space up on the rooftop where you could come chill with your friends. If you wanted to rent it out, then you could rent it out. It was very similar to my flat in London, and so I thought it would be a really great space to be able to rent out and use. There was also like a games part of the apartment. Honestly, the rooftop space was massive. You could see a number of different spaces where you could go chill with your friends, chill by yourself, be able to relax, unwind, use the games room. They also took me downstairs, so they had a bowling alley, a karaoke machine, another part of the games room. There was also a number of different co-working spaces. You could book out small meeting rooms. There was a coffee machine, a cold brew machine. The amenities, like I said, were very, very good in this apartment. So now I've gone through all the pros. What I would say in terms of the cons is, firstly, I didn't love the fact that when we ended up going out of the lift onto the apartment space, it seemed to have like a red stain on the floor. So you had like a grey carpet and then like this massive red stain on the floor. Again, something I wasn't a massive fan of. Given the price point, I was like, I'm not really looking to spend that much money and then not have it maintained. What I also didn't love was the color of the marble. I know that sounds like really stupid, but just didn't love that for me. I also felt that the mismatched colors was a bit odd. I just didn't really understand why you'd have like light brown and then gray. And actually, having lived in my flat in London, I didn't actually end up using that many of the amenities, just because work, life, travel, all of that kind of stuff means that sometimes it's actually not worth the money. It didn't really make much sense to me to then pay like nearly $4,100. I just kind of thought that it wasn't particularly worth it, given that the actual apartment itself I didn't love. So the next place I went to go and see was kind of around the corner and right opposite the Whole Foods, and also had like a hotel that was right by it. The downstairs concierge and the leasing office was really nice, really welcoming. Definitely really liked the woman that took me around and also the whole space. So then we went to go and tour, I think, 3 separate apartments, but the vast majority were over 800 square feet, and they were basically between $3,100 per month as the base rent, and then up to $3,500 per month, which was right within my budget. The first apartment that we went to go and see was a little bit dark, to be honest. It was a 1-bed and a den. It had floor-to-ceiling windows, but also had walls in between the windows. There was quite a lot of storage space. The 1-bed and dens that I went to go and see had a full walk-in shower and then also an additional bathroom as well. What I really loved about it was that it was super clean, bright, and so it was quite nice walking into each of the different bathrooms. The cupboards in the kitchen space were really bright, again, quite airy. It's like this turquoise blue color, and so quite nice. There's also a movable island, which then meant that you could really set up the apartment however which way you wanted to set it up. The actual living rooms had floor-to-ceiling windows, and so there was so much light coming in. It was super bright. One of the apartments I actually went to go and see had a balcony. It didn't have the best view in the balcony, but it was nice. You know, it was something that you could definitely, on a day like today where it is super sunny, it's super warm, it would be nice to sit out, have a drink, and just really enjoy the sunshine outside. So it wasn't like a, this is amazing, but it was a nice to have, I suppose, for that apartment that I went to go and see. The one issue about this apartment, it was quite low down, and next to it was another building, so its light wasn't as bright as it would have been if there was nothing opposite it. There was honestly nothing bad I could say about these apartments. They were really built beautifully, they've been upkept really well. The leasing agent was really friendly, really welcoming, basically showed me around very well across the whole different apartments. And then she went to go and show me all the different amenities. What I really liked is that there were various different places that you could go and rent out different rooftop events in. So you had the communal working space, you had the restaurant space, you had the like private dining space, you had the co-working space, the games room, the rooftop pool, the fountains. There was just so much happening. And as a result of us being in this Navy Yard area, you had full views of the Capitol, full views of the Washington Monument. It was a really beautiful building. And then this last apartment that I saw was actually a very high contender. It was really beautiful. I really liked the space, I really liked the lighting, I really liked the view. Everything was really, really great. It was exactly what I wanted. The island, the bedroom, and then the den, and then it also had the walk-in shower. It had like light colored cabinets and island, and it was like, you know, really social. Location was really great. I honestly really, really loved this apartment. And then the gym was massive. They had like a yoga studio, they had a Pilates studio. You could basically do exercise classes while you were there. The gym had all of the equipment that you would expect, so treadmill, stairmaster, cycling, free weights, every kind of exercise equipment that you would anticipate. And I really love that spot. The only problem was the fact that it was like right by the hotel, so some of the apartments you can basically see into the hotel, and obviously the hotel can see into you. But as long as you are picking an apartment that doesn't have that level of visibility and exposure, then there was literally nothing wrong with it. And I really, really like this apartment and the apartment complex. So this was the fourth apartment, which was located in Park Riverside. Not to be shady, but I wasn't a massive fan of the entrance. I went to look at the meeting room and co-working space. I wasn't a massive fan as it was a little bit dark. I then went to go and see some of the amenities. The first that I saw was the gym. The space was massive, but there wasn't that many machines, and I wasn't a massive fan of the decor. It also looked like the equipment hadn't been updated since 2010. Then went to go and see the yoga room. Again, nothing special, a good amount of space. I then went to the games room, which was a tad bit small compared to the other spaces that I've seen, and also went to the co-working space, which wasn't massively for me. I think just something about the decor was a little bit off in terms of what I would have anticipated. Across the courtyard, there was another working area, which was a lot nicer and really spacious and bright, but that was basically it in terms of amenities. Now to the apartments themselves. I didn't love them. Firstly, I hated the marble. I just hate that type of marble. Also quite dark cabinets, which is fine if you have a spot that has a lot of natural light and then also has like pretty much white countertops to counteract the dark cabinets. And so that was one of the things I wasn't a massive fan of. But I will say that there was a lot of closet space, there was a lot of storage space, the bathrooms were fine. They had done as good as they possibly could do with keeping up the apartment. The fridges had like scratches on them. It was quite dirty, quite moldy, and all of that kind of stuff. Also, a lot of the corridors and the hallways were really showing a lot of wear and tear. So then on the 10th floor, you also had another communal space and a residential space that you could use. There was a rooftop pool, cabanas, and the pool was open at the time anyway that I went to go and see it. But it was a shame because the leasing agent was super lovely. There's obviously a lot of benefits going there, but I didn't love the apartment too much. And also for the price point, which is around like $3,700 for what it is that I was looking for, I was like, I could get something a lot cheaper that's a lot more modern and a lot nicer. Then the next place that we're going to go and see was somewhere where I really thought I was going to live in. But I think the issue with my timing of wanting to move in, the units that were left over for a reason. And so they also weren't like massively trying to make sure that I would stay there. They were a little bit standoffish. I didn't love the leasing agents that I went to go and see. What I did really like is that the downstairs of the apartment is very welcoming. It's got like this beautiful lounge setup. What was really great is that they they have a really lovely restaurant and a coffee shop where you can get alcohol or wine or whatever it is, and also meals in the apartment as well. The concierge is there. There's actually like a Nigerian guy who was like, oh, Chidi, fantastic, lovely to meet you, my Nigerian sister. And I really enjoyed like that kind of energy. I think just the leasing agency, at least maybe at the time, I'm not too sure what happened, it just wasn't giving the vibe that I wanted it to give. The 3 units I went to go and view were just unfortunate. So the first one I went to go and view was on the 2nd floor. It had a movable island, but it was pretty dark. The rooms also had carpet, and like I said, hardwood floors were non-negotiable for me. I wasn't a massive fan of that. It was like on a corner, it was quite dark. I think I was overseeing some sewage spot. Also the storage was quite small, the countertops were quite small, the island was awkwardly placed, and because it was on the 2nd floor and it was quite dark, the island, as soon as you walked in, made the space look even more small than it would have been if the island wasn't there and you just walked into an open free space. And then also one thing that was like a little bit unfortunate is that not all of the apartments had showers. I know that sounds like a really stupid and really pernickety thing to complain about. Also, what was really weird about this apartment is that it seems that they had basically expanded the size of the bathrooms and then taken out some of the space that you would ordinarily expect to be in the main bedroom or the den. The main bedroom and the den was actually quite small, but the bathrooms were like unnecessarily big. Then looking at the amenities, they did obviously have a rooftop pool, communal spaces similar to the other apartments. You had a great view of the Capitol building and also the Washington Monument. A decent sized gym, had all what you needed to have. It was very similar to like a hotel gym. The apartment actually had 2 pools. So there was one that you could use that was linked to like the east portion, and there's one that you could use that was kind of linked to like the west portion. And that's basically how you got from one side of the apartment to the other side through that rooftop bit. But yeah, it was a shame because I really wanted that place to be my place. So then the next apartment I went to go view was actually really nice. I actually really enjoyed it. The rooms actually were quite big, and all of the 1 beds in the den also had 2 bathrooms, which was fantastic for me, exactly what I wanted. The rooms had floor-to-ceiling windows, which I really liked. The island that they had was super big. Pretty much all of the apartments had the showers, and they also had the bathtubs. The bathrooms themselves were super bright, airy, clean, really great. Honestly, couldn't complain about them at all. And then they had a lot of storage space. All of the bedrooms and the bathroom had like hardwood floors. All of the apartments I went to go and view had inbuilt washer and dryer, and so you know that you could do your laundry in your apartment. One of the things I didn't love about the main bedroom is that they had this like really narrow hallway into the room. Again, the configuration was just a little bit strange. The views weren't fantastic out of each of the different apartments. And then we went to go and see all of the amenities, and they had a lot of amenities. They had like a downstairs co-working space where you could get printing done. You also had the ability to get coffee, cold brew. The gym itself was massive. They didn't have a rooftop pool. They had an indoor pool. They also had like 2 massage rooms, and you could go and get like hydrotherapy in one of the rooms and then actually get a masseuse to do like a sports massage in the other rooms. You also had a fitness or yoga studio that was in the apartment as well. However, the fact that you don't get a rooftop pool in a day like today, I think is a bit of a shame. Bit of a missed opportunity, whoever designed that building, especially for the price point. The price point was around 3,700 to 4,100, but the amenities were really nice and something I hadn't seen in the other apartments, having like 2 massage rooms and then like a indoor pool with a jacuzzi. And then last but not least, the last apartment I went to go and view, one of the things I found about this apartment is that it's actually quite difficult to find out where the entrance is. Unless you know where it is that you're going, you would actually get quite lost. Like I remember the first time that I came to see it, I was like, oh, this looks as if it's like closed down because they had like shutters next to it. But anyway, the inside of the concierge space is super lovely, super nice. It's giving very hotel. It's giving very like calm, serene doctor's office. Then we went up into the lift and we ended up seeing 2 different apartments. We saw one apartment that was on the 5th floor and then one apartment which was on the 10th floor. And that 10th floor apartment was a 2-bedroom and was basically the same configuration as the 1-bedroom that we saw on the 5th floor, but you just had another bedroom on the other side. The apartment itself was massive. Like the living space was really lovely. They had this really beautiful white island, floor-to-ceiling windows both in the bedroom and in the living area. All of the apartments had showers if they were one beds, or they had a shower and a bathtub if they were two beds. There was a great amount of closet space. In the living space you had your own linen closet, and all of the apartments had their own inbuilt washer and dryer. You had very good views. Opposite, there's basically like no construction, no buildings, and so you basically get all of the light and all of the sunshine. Some of the apartments had a little bit of an odd configuration and looked out onto the courtyard, which I didn't love. I really only liked the ones that were looking out on either to the monument or to the highway, just because it allowed a lot more natural light to come into the apartment. They had in the kind of communal workspace area, you had a place that you could rent out if you wanted to do any sort of like dinners or any social gatherings. There was also a bit where you could have like an actual full-blown party. They also had like a concierge that you could use that could basically like book various things for you to do in DC or elsewhere. They also had a rooftop communal space as well that you could rent out, and then they had like grills all over the patio at a rooftop pool. Again, beautiful views of the monument, beautiful views of the Capitol building. It also had like a games room. They had a relaxation area also on the rooftop as well. Then the gym, it wasn't as big as the other gyms that I had seen in the apartment buildings, but exactly all you needed. And what was actually quite nice is that you could actually get a personal trainer. They had like an on-demand personal trainer. They also had a podcast studio downstairs, which was really cool, in case you wanted to either have a meeting that was quite quiet, or you wanted to record a YouTube video, you wanted to record like a podcast. They had all of the equipment ready to go, and you could reserve it, but it's also like on a first come basis. All right guys, so that's all the apartments I went to go view in DCE. Comment down below which one you think I went with. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, comment down below, share it with anybody who might find it useful, and we'll see you next time. Peace out, Girl Scout.